Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning. Whatever time you find yourself watching this video. Today, got an interesting knife from my friends at Atlantic Knife, C and Jewel. I like interesting, practical knives, and they always seem to surprise me with something pretty cool. So let's take a look at today's knife. Is a USA made, and it's my first experience with. I've heard of them, but I haven't owned any. But this is a knife by Anza. So Anza is a American-made, like I said, American-made knife company. And it is owned by, it's open, and there we go, it's in the Ziploc. Let's take a look-see. Anza Knives, made in the USA. Made in the USA. This is a very interesting knife, full tang, with a kind of a, there's no marking on it other than Anza USA 21. Now, this was a knife sort of on or in a drawer. So it's one of those knives that doesn't have a whole lot of backstory. You know, what we could say about Anza Knives is they've been around since the 80s, and this this particular knife has Black Micarta handles. It's full tang. It's very unique, big. If you look, the grind on this blade is huge, which is interesting. At first glance, I would have thought that this has been sharpened or resharpened, but I don't think so. I just think the grind itself, and it's a little uneven. I mean, to be fair, you could tell this, you know, if you can see the grind, sort of the line where the blade geometry is, it is a little uneven. It's not symmetrical on either side. So that's going to make the blade geometry a little wonky. Very comfortable in the hand. Now, one thing I'll point out, that if you go to their website, they talk about, there's a video, the owner, the founder, his name's Charlie. He uses a super high-end glue, and from that glue, he doesn't use any pins or any mounting hardware. So, and he swears by it. So it's interesting, certainly interesting looking knife. You know, the blade is not quite it's almost like a clip point and buoy style. They have a knife. I'm trying to find an example of this guy, and not having much luck on the actual knife itself. As we see here, this knife has a 4-inch cutting edge, and So total length of the knife is about 8¼ almost a little more than 8¼ It's very nice as far as its balance. Oh, let's see, right there, balances out. Interesting, if you see this milling or machining, it extends across the full tang. So I'm guessing if or since they are utilizing what you would call it a glue, it makes it adhere better. So, I mean, it's a stout feeling knife. Leather, like I said, leather sheath, Anza Knives, made in USA. The sheath itself is a very simple sheath with no real retention. I mean, it's got moderate retention. Scout carry. Interesting knife. You know, it's, again, the tip makes it feel almost like a Skinner, but I don't know. And because I'm coming into this a little bit, okay, I think they call this knife a curve tooth. No, that's not it. Okay, I've had to go to their website just to see, but the etching on the spine of the blade, the number symbolizes the year it was made. So this is made in 2021. So feels, you know, with the shape, this is more of a working knife for a camp. With this sort of milling, and the way the spine is 90-degree spine, very easy for a ferro rod here. So I love the feel of this knife. It feels very similar to sort of a my Chuck Richards knife, which was OEM'd by the folks at Demco Knives, but it's got a very custom feel to it. Kind of cool. Again, getting this is kind of like a neat little a treat, because I'm getting to the point where I've dealt with so many knives and there's so much repetition in the knife world. It's nice to find some things that are unique or different, and just make it a little fun. I like to be stumped and have to research about the knives I look at. Again, I try to be as spontaneous as absolutely possible when I'm doing a knife review, because I want to inform people, not only visually inform people, show them what the knife looks like and stuff, but I like to actually let them know what the knife's made of, what kind of steel is it, if they have things about heat treat and things of that nature. I tend to want to give you a full tilt reporting. So with that being said, I'm gonna pause the video very briefly and do a little background research. It's not normally the way I do things, but I just this is kind of a small American maker that I want to give their just desserts, because while the knife isn't perfect, I really like it. It's a very nice presentation of a knife. It feels good. It you know, it's one that is owed a little bit of time and attention. So I'm going to do that, and I will be back momentarily. Okay, we're back, and we have learned a lot about this. Okay, so let's kind of take a look. See, I was talking about milling, and then I learned they actually use annealed files. So this was actually a file that they converted into a knife blade. The man who owns the company started the company in 1980. So the company's been in business now 45 years, give or take. And his name's Charlie Davis. So I don't necessarily have an exact steel for it, but his process is taking a high carbon steel file. That's where these lines came from. Imagine an old file, extremely sharp, and you know it has an upswept tip, almost Bowie style clip point. Very nice. You know, to me, it screams skin game. You know, it screams outdoors camp. You know, with the size of it, you could EDC this. Now, for me, if I wanted this knife for self-defense, I would have to get a custom Kydex case, because it's perfect size for inverted vertical carry, pull out of a plate carrier, no big deal. It is extremely, like I said, it's extremely short. It is extremely sharp, and just a neat looking knife. I like it a whole lot. You know, and these are all sort of a custom piece basically, because they take a file and they grind it, and so each knife is going to have some variation. Now I just want to show, I mentioned earlier Chuck Richards' knife, and I'll show a comparison of the two. Here's the sheath for Chuck's knife. Very similar shape, but Chuck's is a little more rounded off with some more options for carry. The dangling loop with hardware that can be taken apart if you want to get rid of it, and areas for paracord attachment like on the thigh, etc. So a little more versatility with Chuck's there. And as you could tell, the blade length on the Anza is longer. This is Micarta. This is G10. Magna cut steel versus this high carbon steel. Now, because it's high carbon, and you know, the finish is a ground finish, it does not appear to have a coating. So my concern with this knife would be, since I don't quite know the steel content, I would err on the side of caution and put some blade butter on this guy. Ergos are certainly different, but you know, they got some similarities here. The Chuck is a little more nimble, and it's designed that way. This guy It's got a little more, you know, let's look at the weight of them. And not a knife battle, because I'm using Chuck's knife to compare apples to apples here. 6.07 ounces for the Anza, 4.94 ounces for the Chuck Richards. So a full ounce difference in weight, and you can tell. I mean, this guy feels different, but with the ergos on this one, this one just has it's a different character knife, you know. Big old I mean, you got a finger choil here, but it's straight from this point outward. Just a neat knife. I mean, can't really complain about it. The sheath, you know, we do the sheath test and the shake test on the sheath, and this one failed. But you know, with a leather sheath, I don't expect it to have the same capabilities as something like a Kydex. It's just not gonna. But if anybody out there have Anza knives, these are pretty, like, I got it for probably what if I bought it brand new from their website. This knife is anywhere from, you know, 120, 160 bucks. You know, I paid less than half of that. So I got a great deal. And I'm gonna put some blade butter on. I'm gonna clean it a little bit, because, you know, this sat in storage for quite a while, and if you can see, it looks like there may be some corrosion just starting on the base, you know, the very end of the spine. We're gonna clean that up and see how it looks. Oil the micarta. The micarta looks thirsty. So, but anyway, like I was saying, anyone have an Anza? Never heard of them? Heard of them? What's your thought? It feels super solid, very thick spine, and I'm kind of all over the place today, but we will be as thorough as we can. Thick, nice thick 5.09 millimeter spine with the full tang. So a stout knife. Very, very pleased with this, and I would like to thank my buddy C for offering this knife up. I think it might have been in his collection. C and I have gotten along very well, and I think he sort of recognizes the things that interest me and tries to present them. He takes too much of my money, to be honest, but I don't hold it against him. So anyhow, with that being said, again, drop a comment about an Anza knife. Let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And because I use Chuck's knife to kind of compare and contrast, I'm going to put his website in the description below as well. You know, if you haven't watched my video reviewing this knife, please do so. Again, this is Chuck Richards Freebird with Magna Cut steel, OEM'd by the folks at Demco USA. Great knife. Chuck's a great guy, and I'd love for people to check him out and look at more USA crafted knives. So until next time, remember, life is hard. Don't complain. Take care.